Okay, our next episode is called The Icarus Factor. It happens to be episode number 40 of the series from season 2, and it originally aired on April 22nd, 1989. It was written by David Assael, Assael, and Robert L. McCullough, and directed by Robert Iskov. Okay, and plot-wise with this episode, there are really three different things going on. The first one has to do with Lieutenant Worf. Wesley seems to notice that Worf is being especially isolated from others and seems very agitated. And most other people are saying, well, that's basically just Worf for you. But Wesley feels like there's something that's really bothering him. And Wesley looks this up and figures out that Worf has reached the 10th anniversary of the Age of Ascension, and since there are no Klingons on board, Worf is really upset by this because he can't participate. So what Wesley decides to do is to stage an ascension right on the holodeck and invite several of the crew to participate, which takes a while to first figure out what is wrong with Worf. They're actually in 10 forward, and Wesley actually witnesses as Data tries to talk to Worf in a very funny scene, and Worf basically tells him just to be gone, which is hilarious. But finally Wesley figures out what's going on, and in the end, Worf thanks everybody for being there. And as you can see in this picture, this is the Age of Ascension ceremony, and for part of it, Worf has to actually be hurt, and to show that he can endure this because he is enduring the test of a true warrior, and that he is ready for it. Well, that is one part of the plot. Another part is, at the same time, Starfleet is offering Commander Riker his own command aboard the USS Ares. And when his father boards the Enterprise to brief him, it becomes obvious that the relationship is very strained. So here you have both the plot of Riker deciding whether he wants to take this new command, and also his relationship and strained relationship with his father, who is Kyle Riker. It's also interesting that Riker witnesses Kyle Riker come into 10 forward and greeting Dr. Pulaski rather warmly. And it turns out that they have a history together, and that Dr. Pulaski probably would have married Kyle Riker if Kyle was the marrying type. But Kyle was a little too ambitious, and his head was out for adventure, and he just wasn't going to settle down. Now, 15 years ago, Kyle Riker left Will Riker to fend for himself, and that's why Will Riker still holds that against his father. Now, they finally work out their differences after an extended martial arts battle using blindfolds and large sticks. Now, this must be the 24th century version of the male bonding ritual using a truth stick, which is kind of funny. But actually what they call this is an anbojitsu, which is a fictitious Japanese sport shown in this episode. And basically what you have to do with it, there are two armored opponents facing each with a solid visor, which renders them blind, and they fight with a large staff, and a proximity sensor is worn by each combatant and alerts them to their opponent's location with an audio signal. Now, a protective cushion is worn on one arm and can be used to shield or to deflect attacks, and it's called the ultimate evolution in the martial arts in the context of the show, although the required paraphernalia seems kind of counterintuitive to the very nature of martial arts, which train the body and the mind, and most of the moves seem to involve clumsily swinging those staffs like baseball bats, which is kind of funny. It kind of almost looks like an American Gladiators situation, which is almost probably the more comical part of the episode. But nevertheless, that's how they solve their differences. And once that happens, Riker admits that he is happy that Kyle Riker has come, and they give each other a hug. Riker then decides against the promotion, and the Enterprise leaves for its next mission. And that is the end of the episode. So a lot of things going on here. this is finally an episode where we don't have a huge catastrophe, kind of B storyline where the Enterprise is in trouble. It seems like that's kind of tacked on, and unfortunately you'll see that in the future episodes as well. But this is really more of two characters that we're focused on, a Riker and a Worf episode. And I really liked it a lot. I liked both the A storyline and the B storyline, really. In fact, I was kind of saddened that the actor who played Kyle Riker, his name is Mitchell Ryan, did not appear in any future episodes. I thought they could have done a lot more with that, since they really have done a lot of parent episodes and family episodes with some of the other characters. It would have been nice to see that, especially, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen the last Star Trek Next Generation movie, Nemesis. Cover your ears on this one. But Riker and Troy eventually get married, and Kyle Riker's nowhere to be found, interestingly enough. I guess not only could Kyle Riker not have the time to get married himself, he didn't have the time to attend his son's own marriage, which is too bad. But if you remember Mitchell Ryan, he actually was an actor who played the villain in the first Lethal Weapon movie, and I actually remember he had a brief cameo in the film Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. There's a really funny bit where Jim Carrey, who can't lie in the movie, tells his boss, played by Mitchell Ryan, just what he thinks about him. And the reaction is just priceless. That's a very hilarious scene. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Another person who guest stars in this movie is actually John Tesh, who's a musician, and he's famous for such things as writing the theme song to the NBA on NBC theme. If you guys remember that, not sure if you realized it, but I think it's called Round Ball Rock. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, I'm not sure, but type that into YouTube, I can guarantee that you might find that. And you can at least type in NBA on NBC with John Tesh, and I'm sure you'll find that. And he also hosted Entertainment Tonight from 1986 to 1996. And during this time, they were covering Star Trek The Next Generation for one episode, and John Tesh decided that he wanted to be one of the Klingons in this picture, actually. And this particular one, he's a little bit behind these two front Klingons here. But he just wanted to be part of the experience, and he got to be one of the Klingons who strikes Worf with the pain stick during the Age of Ascension ceremony. So that's kind of neat there. With this particular episode, too, a couple comments by the director, Robert Isakov. He says it's an emotional piece, a character piece between two people, and the father has deserted Riker for 25 years. Then he comes back, and they have this confrontation. And he says, according to Gene Roddenberry, by the 24th century, we've all kind of resolved those feelings of anger, so it's very hard to play. If you're not going to serve the resentment and the anger, what happens once the two of them get together? You can't get into any real human drama. I did it because I'm a Trekkie and I wanted to be involved. The original series was much more humanistic in its approach. And he also adds that the future isn't perfect, but every time you push against it, the immediate people, Berman and all of them, agree with you, but then to Roddenberry, the ultimate voice, says you can't do that. And he says, I was supposed to do some more of them, but I said, thank you very much, but I can't. There's just no place to go with it. If you can't deal with the emotion, what's the point? Which he has a point there. I mean, Star Trek is supposed to be in this world where everything is going right, but then that lends itself to, well, how are you going to make the story dramatic? So you'll see in future Star Trek, even creations, especially DS9, that you have to bend that a little bit to make some good drama there. And I think this episode definitely does it well, both, as I said, with the Worf part and with the Riker part. So, very good episode in my mind, and thanks for watching this, guys. I'll see you next time.